Hi, good morning, and thank you for being here. My name is Larissa Carreira. I'm from Belém do Pará, and I'm here representing the Plant-Based Treaty. Today I speak to you from my hometown, Belém, in the heart of the Amazon, a place that embodies both the urgency and the hope of our climate future. As Brazil hosting COP30, our nation steps into a new chapter, from contributing to the global climate conversion to helping lead it. Through the Plant-Based Treaty, Brazil is advancing a vision where climate action and food system are inseparable. Across the country, we are starting to see this transformation take root in public policy, in cities, and in the communities that understand that the way we produce and consume foods is essential to the health of our planet. If the climate future of the Earth depends on the Amazon, our food future depends on it too. That means rethinking the rules of capture, ranching, deforestation, and methane emissions, and embracing solutions rooted in plant-based food systems. Throughout this year, I have seen an incredible awakening in Brazil, from indigenous leaders to youth, from scientists to local farmers. People are coming together around a shared vision. One world food, sovereignty, forest protection, and the public health go hand in hand. The Amazon is not only a biome, it is our moral and climate center. It is the thermometers, the lungs, and the compass of the planet. And there can be no climate justice without food justice. There can be no forest protection while our food system continues to drive deforestation. This year, the cities of Nova Lima and Florianópolis become the first in Brazil to endorse the Plant-Based Treaty. They are showing what leadership looks like, spending plant-based meals in school, supporting sustainable farmers and green entrepreneurs, and aligning local food policies with climate goals. Their work proves that change is not just words. It is practical, measurable, and deeply impactful. Here at COP30, our team is working to strengthen collaboration between science, public policy, and plant-based innovation, and encourage more municipalities and leaders to join this movement. A sustainable economy for Brazil is inseparable from a sustainable food system. This transition protects forests, improves public health, creates green jobs, and positions Brazil as a global reference for climate leadership. Moving towards a plant-based future will reducing deforestation, cut methane emission, protect biodiversity, and support the community who have always lived in harmony with nature. It is a pathway that unites climate responsibility with compassion and opportunity. We are staying at a historic crossroads. COP30 is not just another climate conference. It is a turning point. And I believe that Brazil, Belém, and the Amazon can lead the transformation the world urgently needs. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Julius Kitone. I'm the PBT campaigner for Africa. I come from Kampala, Uganda. I'm here to share the experience of the African perspective in regard to food systems and food security. As we preside over this press conference today, Africa's voice on food system transformation is growing louder than ever before. And it is clear, as plant-based treaty, a global initiative that pushes food transformation and calls for a diet shift from the animal-based products to plant-based products, it is more urgent than it has ever been before. Over the past year, Africa has emerged as a key front on the global movement for climate resilient and sovereign food systems. The continent's PBT chapters that are spread across all countries of the continent are sounding a bigger alarm that Africa needs to take a center step in pushing for food systems across board. We shouldn't be perceived as people who are there to consume whatever ideas come across, but we are at the center of making sure that whichever idea in regard to climate change, food systems, and balanced diet are heard and adhered to from the grassroots to the global level as we are at Belém. The continent is looking forward to ensuring that our traditional foods are prioritized on the table. Talk about beans, talk about nuts, talk about cashew nuts, cocoa, and name it. They are not only healthy in terms of consumption, but they are also economically sustainable. They contribute less to carbon emissions, but they are also very, very nutritious and can support the growth and sustainable health across board. Africa's advocacy is rooted not in imported ideas, but in centuries of indigenous grains, legumes, fruits, and vegetables. I don't think that there is any country that competes with Africa in terms of having a variety of foodstuffs, and all of them are mainly plant-based. So why should we lose on such? As I conclude, the Plant-Based Treaty Africa team has been pivotal at both local and international levels, sounding a big alarm, calling for a shift in the food systems. We remain committed to pushing for having various entities, local governments, regional governments, and international players to ensure that they endorse the plant-based treaty, especially as we preside over this COP30. I thank you.
Buenas tardes a todos. My name is Valezca. I'm from Mexico City, and I'm part of the Regional Liaisons for Latin America for the Plant-Based Treaty. It's an honor to be here today representing activists and communities across our region who are working towards a transition to sustainable food systems. The Plant-Based Treaty is a global initiative calling for urgent action to shift from the animal-based to plant-based food systems as key to climate solutions. We have also been adapting the Plant-Based Treaty to the different cultural and social realities of our region in countries such as Mexico, Uruguay, Brazil, Chile, Peru, Argentina, and Brazil. So that truly connects with the local traditions, ingredients, and community needs, making it a movement by and for the people for Latin America too. In LATAM, animal agriculture remains one of the biggest yet least addressed drivers of climate change, deforestation, and water pollution. Our region, rich in biodiversity and culture, is also home of some of the largest meat and dairy industries in the world, which continue to expand at the expense of ecosystems, wildlife, and human health. In Mexico, our team has investigated in the state of Mexico, outside Mexico City, one of the most populated regions in the country. What we have discovered was deeply concerning. Slaughterhouses and meat processing facilities discharge all the untreated wastewater containing blood, feces, fat, and chemical residues directly into nearby rivers and soil. This contamination poisons local ecosystems and causes serious health problems for nearby communities. During one of my visits, I met an 11-year-old girl who lives right outside the slaughterhouse. She told us she feels afraid every day because of the loud, painful sounds coming from that place, and that she often suffers from headaches caused by the terrible odors. Other neighbors, many of them elderly, told me they endure constant stomach illnesses, lack of clean water, and the stench never goes away. Yet, they have no choice but to stay because they can afford to move. These are the human faces of environment injustice. It's not only about numbers or emissions. It's about children, families, and entire communities forced to live in conditions that threaten their health and their dignity. And while this happens, climate impacts are worsening dramatically across Mexico. In Tabasco, for example, extreme heat waves with temperatures never seen before have led to the deaths of countless jaguar monkeys, a species already in danger. They fell in groups for the trees due to dehydration and lack of water. In this tragedy, once again, it was civil society, not industry or government, that act. People came together, bringing water and care for days to save as many animals as possible. The lack of water and the extreme weather conditions are advancing in our region faster than ever before. But there is hope and solution, rooting in our own history and identity. In Mexico and across Latin America, we have a rich pre-Hispanic food heritage based on plants and tradition that has nourished our people for centuries. Returning to those ancestral diets, where foods like corn, cacao beans, amaranth, chia, and quelites were celebrated, offers not only climate action, but also food justice. Eating accordingly to the seasons, what the land naturally gives us, is a way to heal, to restore the balance between humans, animals, and the earth. Our research and fieldwork show that transitioning to plant-based food systems can drastically reduce emissions, save water, and build healthier, more resilient communities. Across Mexico and Latin America, we're already seeing hope. Institutions supporting vegan food programs, a school introducing plant-based meals, and our local teams raising awareness about sustainable diets. But to truly protect our planet, government must act now. Food system transformations must be recognized as a core pillar of climate policy. Without addressing animal agriculture, we cannot meet the Paris Agreement goals or preserve our biodiversity. So today, I'll invite you, all of you, policymakers, activists, and the global leaders to endorse the Plant-Based Treaty and join us to remaining our relationship with food and the planet. Thank you.
Sachikal, namaste everyone. Very nice to meet you. My name is Uday. I'm the musical artist and city campaigner with Plant-Based Treaty. And I just want to share a little bit about the campaigns that I work with and I witnessed. I was born in India, actually, but I moved to Canada. And just to share some information from the team in India, actually, 15 cities in India have endorsed the Plant-Based Treaty, and which has been moving across the country as they're very open to it. But in a country like Canada, which you would think is a bit close to it, when we actually look at the food guides of Canada and I'm sure other countries too. Canada, actually, over 80% of the food guide is plant-based itself. So that's already something that is in the favor of this movement and focusing purely on the health side. So just to share some of the campaigns that we did in Canada, the first endorsement we got was by Rainbow Lake during our email campaign. So if you don't know, Plant-Based Treaty has a very powerful email campaign where we send emails to all the city councilors which is based on where you live. So you can see our email campaign on plantbasedtreaty.org. And it's a very detailed email which you can change based on what your concerns are, but with the focus being on climate. As we know, this is COP30 is a climate event, and COP30 is and Plant-Based Treaty is focused on climate. So these email campaigns really focus on the main drivers of environmental damage and how a plant-based food system can reverse that and help transform that, but also on the health side, because many people, city councilors, health officials are concerned about the constituents and their health. So this campaign also talks about how sustainable whole food plant-based system and advocacy for that will be healthy for the constituents. We've seen across Canada, many councillors have been supportive of this on these two sides. And a major campaign win that I was involved with was the city of Brampton, which is in Ontario. After we campaigned for the city for a few months, several months, working with councillors, emailing, calling back and forth, they agreed to endorse the plant-based treaty. And some of the commitments, I just want to share for you if you're wondering on what does a city endorsement mean. So some of the commitments that they agreed to is having a plant-based awareness week in the Brampton, which would so basically for a whole it's called plant-based awareness week. So for a whole week they promoted plant-based foods, and on their social media channels they had many days like sampling, giving plant-based food away, and there was like very fun challenges. For example, just like a random one that I remembered was they had a cabbage day where they shared recipes on using cabbage and local on other local fruits which are available in Brampton. And another part of the endorsement was introducing plant-based defaults in the city during the regional events and increasing the options for staff. Plant-based default is something that I would really advocate for, because it shows when you go for food at a conference or a meeting, by default, the studies have shown that over 60% of people are, when they receive plant-based food, they are happy with it and supportive of it, which is what plant-based default is supportive. But if you still want second choice, they give you a different option, and third, they might have some animal-based option. But plant-based default is something that's really been successful with plant-based treaty and across the world. So that's something they promote as well. And additionally, the events, they enforced, because earlier sometimes there weren't any plant-based options at all at events, so they enforced plant-based catering options and at council city meetings and civic events as well. And they created an action plan, which is basically a plan that they will, every 6 months, they come back to and revisit it and report on the actions. Other endorsements majorly was the city of Mississauga, which promoted and expanded the public education and awareness campaigns. Because as we know, most people aren't aware of this. And the main issue, even talking in COP30 when I go around and I ask people, most people aren't aware about the power of a plant-based diet and why it's needed. So this is why the city of Mississauga took a great effort on educating people in an education campaign. And they're exploring more opportunities to have just access to fruits, vegetables, legumes, focus on addressing food deserts and advancing food justice. Because as I said before, when people have access to food, when they have the education and they know it's good for them, they're helping the climate, then there's no really pushback on why they wouldn't choose it. The city of Mississauga also supported an expansion of community gardens and partnerships with food donations and local food banks. They advanced the reforestation initiatives, including planting native tree species to restore habitats, strengthen biodiversity, enhance carbon sequestration with the Natural Heritage and Urban Forest Strategy, and they endorsed the other goals of Plant-Based Treaty, which was the objective on the city's Climate Change Action Plan. Lastly, I just want to share for Canada, the city of Richmond Hill, while they didn't endorse the treaty yet, they passed a motion for Plant-Based Treaty, and which is committed to promoting more plant-based foods approach in the city plans and greenhouse gas reduction. the aim to include environmental friendly options at city greetings and events, encourage the inclusion of these options in the organizations, and explore opportunities to raise public awareness about the climate, environment, and health benefits of these systems. So basically, what I want to share is that we want to get cities to endorse, but even if the cities aren't there yet, they can pass motions to promote plant-based treaty, and which this would further push the city to go in that direction. And when you get more public support, then we can get the endorsement and then major systematic change. As I was talking to Paul Watson yesterday, Paul Watson of Sea Shepherd. I'm sure many of you know the great Paul Watson. And he said a very interesting fact: when 7% of the society wakes up to something which is urgent, then we have massive systems of change towards that. So what we're trying to do with Plant-Based Treaty is just get to that 7% with education and awareness about the need for plant-based food, for the environment, for health, for indigenous people, for impoverished communities, of course for animals as well, and then just push towards that. When we get to the 7%, then we can have major systematic change and an equitable, safe and just food system. Bringing it back to Brazil, for example, I know that I've stayed in Brazil for 6 months, and I know that the indigenous communities over here are very harmed and affected by major meat packaging companies such as JBS, and which have harmed the Amazon rainforest, and they are actually advocating for like a shift to a plant-based food system. And so we have their support. It's just that we need the awareness of the rest of the world and the rest of the citizens to support these options. And yeah, basically getting options there, because when people see having advocacy, oh, this has a plant-based option, and when the plant-based options are put in the front, when there's stickering, when there's more marketing and awareness, then people want to be supporting this. All of our life, I'm sure all of us, we've been seeing so much propaganda and marketing from the meat, dairy, egg industries. All the ads, you go watching some TV, and you see all these ads, all these marketing things. So we have been brainwashed our whole lives. So I think it's time we share the awareness and the science-based approach on how to reach, limit our global greenhouse impact by the 1.5 degrees and other issues, and education. So I just want to share about that. And yeah, so if you want to look at plant-based treaty, we have 40 proposals in our when we get cities to endorse. And like some of the easier ones that cities can agree to, they don't have to agree to all 40 of them. They can agree to the similar ones like education, awareness, stickering campaigns. We have great stickers to having, for example, on the restaurant you can write, we have plant-based options, we have plant-based milk, so they can do education on that. And they can have courses in schools, which is education going back to the more important fact, where they can say having a plant-based awareness, like plant-based treaty course. But the harder ones, which we really want to reach, are working with farmers. We know farmers are the backbone of our society, and they're so important. They provide us all the food that we need. And even the animal farmers, we want to work with them. We want to change the subsidies from animal-based to plant-based. We know most of the subsidies in Canada, it's like over 90% are going towards animal farming, which is keeping the same systems at play. But when we can change the subsidies to vegetables, fruits, other nuts and seeds, then we can have a major impact. So I would encourage you to go to plantbasedtreaty.org and see the more information there and how you can get your city involved, email your city councilor with the email action, do the stickering campaign in your city with the current options, and there's so much information there. And yeah, this is a really exciting campaign. I've been doing this, we've all been doing it for a few years, and it's growing over 50. Now we have 55 cities who have endorsed and are doing great work. And we want your cities, we want everyone here, their cities to endorse as well. So I think that's it. Are there any questions from anyone? Any challenges or anything any other opinions? Maybe another question: are there anything you would think would be stopping any of your cities from endorsing the plant-based treaty? Anything which would be stopping from promoting a plant-based food system that maybe we can help and address?
Thank you so much, and remember to sign the plant-based treaty at plantbasedtreaty.org.
Thank you very much. I remain Julius Kitone, PBT Coordinator Africa.
Should we take a photo?